And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce the Director of the Toronto District School Board, Colleen Russell-Rawlins. Give her a round of applause.
Thank you very much, Ida, and good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I am so glad that you are here. You are in for an afternoon of surprises, delight, insights, and emotions, courtesy of the incredible, talented students, your children. They have just exceeded our expectations in terms of what they've been able to share with us. When I stepped into my role back in 2021, the senior team and I were really aware that we needed feedback directly from students about the efficacy of our efforts to create a greater sense of belonging, inclusion, and equity in our schools. Very shortly after I returned to TDSB, I was actually amazed at the number of students and clubs that reached out to me, telling me about the bold things they were doing to challenge inequity, to educate, and to really lead positive change with their peers. You see, I know that as family members, caregivers, and educators, you expect a school experience that values your children however they come to us. And that is absolutely what they deserve. So we, the members of the senior team, along with Central Principal Jason Candon-Carey, Hillary Caton, and I launched the Student Equity Collective to amplify students' voices and to empower students to be part of identifying issues that mattered to them and to generate solutions to create more equitable and inclusive learning communities for all students. But like any good idea, there are things you don't anticipate. And the first pleasant surprise was that over 150 students applied to be part of this collective. So today we're celebrating the inaugural cohort of 24 students from across the city who have thoughtfully represented the needs and wants of peers over the last year. And I have to say, as I'm looking out at so many of you, first of all, boy, you've grown. And secondly, I have just been inspired by the conversations that you've had with each other and that you've had with me. So the students have collaborated to address and tackle racism, hate, and discrimination. You will see, hopefully if the technology works, a video submission contest where we received dozens of submissions from schools across the city about how they're tackling hate and racism and making school communities more inclusive spaces. Now, some of you might be asking, why this particular focus? Well, I remember when I was younger, my mother read me a quote as she was giving me a lesson. She said, "You can't fix what you can't face." And so I wish that hate and racism didn't exist in our communities or in our schools. But pretending it doesn't, pretending that it isn't having an impact, won't help us to create the education system that our students deserve. So you'll also hear a podcast where students ask important questions and begin important conversations. And then, of course, you will see through this final celebration how we use art to create meaningful change. You will hear spoken word poetry that affirms the work TDSB's been doing, but also challenges us to do better. I don't want you to leave tonight thinking this work is solely the work of students. In fact, it belongs to students. It certainly belongs to us as staff and leaders. And of course, it is done with communities and with families. We know that any change that is lasting is done together. So our students will use visual arts resources that we will be sharing to help change the narrative when it comes to cyberbullying. We have podcasts featuring an icon who helped pave the way for all of us in the voice of the Honorable Jean Augustine, and then educators who continue down the path leading work in local schools to create positive and caring spaces. And then finally, our videography crew has documented this ongoing work and led the selection of the videos from schools across the TDSB to highlight the inspirational work happening in our schools. Today simply wouldn't be possible without a number of people, and it is my honor to recognize them. To the Student Equity Collective, much gratitude to each and every one of you who came after school on many occasions, fully prepared to participate. Not just to hear your voices or to connect with friends, but to make real, tangible change. Your work, I can promise you, is going to have tremendous impact. I'm always so excited when people ask me about the collective to say that you are a group of students who think critically and are willing to be bold in your actions. I learned really early on from you that it wasn't about the position that you held, but the results that you wanted to create, and I respect that. I hope that this experience has opened new ways of seeing the world and seeing the possibilities that exist for each and every one of you. For me, our conversations have almost always been the highlight of my day, and I want to say, we and I are incredibly proud of you, and we have just tremendous love for you and wish you all the best. To the families, caregivers, parents, loved ones of the students featured here tonight, we're really grateful to you for encouraging them to participate in the collective. We saw you texting them to make sure they got in a taxi cab and were on their way home safely, or picking them up, or making other accommodations to allow them to participate. I hope you are filled with tremendous pride in the work that they have done. I want you to know we see you in them, and we hold your dreams for them and their dreams for themselves close in our hearts. To the TDSB team, school staff who are encouragers of the young people here today, each and every day, to the superintendents who have led the initiative and lent their support, thank you. Shale Graham, Clary Caton, the Center of Excellence for Black Student Achievement, the staff that are there who've helped us in so many ways, Karen Murray and Jason Candengary, for your ongoing guidance, love, and just sheer enthusiasm for young people. We would not be here this evening without your vision and your leadership. To all of the artists and the mentors, you know, watching you as a teacher, and some of the best years in my career were as a teacher, I admire talented teachers. You are teachers of young people. I saw you create circumstances where they were able to guide you to do their best work and to learn from and with each other. Thank you so much for your time and your dedication. And now finally, I want to acknowledge Aisha, Nua, Fatima, Kelly, and Naomi as graduating students. We will miss you, but I hope you know that the legacy you have left behind through your efforts in this inaugural cohort will sustain us. We wish you the very best as you take your next steps after graduation, and we cannot wait to see what you will do next. So, stay tuned for this incredible group of passionate and dedicated students. We know that they will continue to create resources and make recommendations for shifts in our policies, and more importantly, ways in which we can really influence change in schools where it matters the most. So I will leave you with a quote from one of my favorite authors, Arundhati Roy, who says, "Another world is not only possible, she is on her way." Another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing. These students are helping lead the way for a better tomorrow if we are willing to listen. For that, I applaud them and thank you again for joining us today.